Okay.
More beautiful memories to be made here. This is one
This
of
is
them.
Fandom. Yeah, if you're talking, sometimes I'll take, because I don't want to interrupt, I'll take notes, I'll write some down so I can follow up later.
Yeah.
Don't be
Whatever, man. It's your podcast.
Hey.
I'm just here to chat.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Okay. You are, boom, that's you.
All set, on, and good to go.
On and good to go. Let's see, are your headphones on though? Now they are. Noise canceling. Is that? Is that? Ooh. Okay, 1, 2. Let's see. Check 1. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Can you hear me in your headphones?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Ooh, that AC. I wonder. You know what? I think we'll be good. This might be the audio in the background.
Okay, what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm cool with turning it off.
Let's just not even risk it.
The dog.
Yeah, the off button, nice.
We're gonna get burning up in here.
I know. Okay, bees. Oh, brother bees. Okay, we'll do a little check. Okay, so we'll do a little testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2, testing.
Testing.
Testing 1, 2. We're live. You can hear everything?
Yeah, heard everything.
Okay, sweet. Beast, lime, twisted tea,
This is the dream.
living the dream. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, we are on in 3, 2, 1. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Hello everyone. This is Dick Lucas with James Zingarini. James Zingarini is a brother, a friend even, from college. What are you, a couple years younger than me?
Yeah, just about.
Okay, that's it. I'm still in the intro. I just needed that. A couple years younger than me. I remember when this guy came to the scene at the BC campus, BC track and field, a couple years younger than me. I'm supposed to beat up on the frosh. Supposed to, intimidate them. That's as is tradition. Older boys do that to each other. This guy had some power as a young one. He would sway the minds of gods and men in the locker room, in the BC track locker room. He had a lot of political, a lot of social clout, and I think that comes from his dynamic behavior, his dynamic social abilities. And he's a fascinating guy. Like I said, I'm supposed to be a senior. This guy's a sophomore, whatever he was. I'm supposed to stuff him in lockers, and that just didn't happen. I was admittedly a little afraid of you, Zingarini, a little afraid. That's how powerful I think you are as a human. And here we are in Tyler Hansen, Nick Reed's, and Kevin Sullivan's beautiful estate in Beacon Hill on Grove Street. We appreciate that they're letting us stay here. And Zingarini's in town for the BC golf outing. We appreciate you coming out for that. We missed you last year. Unfortunately, the invite must have got lost in the mail. Zingarini, how we doing, brother?
Living the dream. Just about a year out of college. We'll get to that and what transpired in that year. But, just taking it day by day, but really enjoying it. And I've learned a lot about myself and, kind of where I stand in terms of where I want to be going forward, just in the last year. And I'm excited to share that experience. And, I know it's been a while since we've interacted. It used to be a daily thing, and now it's maybe once a year at that. So
first of all, let me just call this out right now. I've been on Twitter. I thought this guy was someone else. I thought I've been interacting. James said we haven't interacted for about a year, and that's basically true. It's some text messages every now and again. When I first got No Grading off the ground, I hit you up. I said, Zingarini's someone I got to have on. But I've been kind of riffing with this person on Twitter who I thought was James Zingarini this entire time. I just found out last night there's actually Joe Jungert, who's one of our teammates, different guy. So I thought this whole time it was Zingarini that I was talking to on Twitter, and be like, yo, retweeting his stuff, be like, dude, that was awesome, like, funny thing you tweeted earlier. And it's someone else the entire time. I felt like I've been lied to this entire time. Of course, Joe Jungert that your photo is of Zingarini, so I'm not a complete idiot. It's of Zingarini and Fatty Rack. So I just thought that was hilarious. That
Classic mix-up.
Classic mix-up. Yeah, I said that. I was like, dude, it's been a great riff with you on Twitter. I said that last night, and he's like, dude, I haven't been on Twitter in 2 years. I was like, what? I thought we'd been talking this entire time. So a year out of college, did you get the experience when you graduated from college? First few weeks, I forgot when it hit me, but it kind of hits you like, holy shit! Like, I now have control over my own destiny for the first time in my life. I'm off the tracks. I have all this time. I'm not running. Did that hit you? How'd you feel about that?
It's a good question. I remember kind of having a realization. Graduating from college didn't really sink in right away. I graduated and then started working about 9 days later. So you got to imagine, you don't really have that real realization where you have all this free time and you're excited about, what you got coming up and where you are going forward. And all of a sudden I was, immediate transition from college kid to working professional.
Right. Yuppie, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Very yuppie.
Right.
And then I just remember like being at work one day and having this startling realization, like, this is the rest of my life. Like,
right.
There's no summers, there's no classes, there's no homework, there's no obligation other than to just be the best at what you got going on and what you want to do. And when that kind of dawned on me, I kind of had this realization that it's like, what am I doing?
Right.
Like,
how long into your job did that hit you?
It was about summer, because I remember I was saying,
wait, that summer that you started?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It
on.
was. Yeah. Well, that's especially
Right.
with the expectations that I had going into my job.
Yes.
We'll talk about that, but
Yes.
just having it not meet what I was initially expecting,
Right.
and then all of a sudden to just have this crazy realization, like a mid-20s, early 20s crisis, if you will, and say,
Right.
what are you going to do from here on out? Like,
Right.
there's endless possibilities, and I feel like I didn't even really have time to kind of consider them before I felt like I was thrust into something that I had to be doing for the next, 5 or 10 years. And I just
Right.
didn't know how to kind of come to terms with that.
Right. Did you, when you say you were thrust into something, did you feel pressure? Because there was a lot. I remember when I was a senior, I interned at this place and got the opportunity to come back after I graduated. So I was kind of relaxed senior year, but I remember thinking, holy shit, if I didn't know I had a job after I graduated, I would have been worried. I would have been scared. Everyone else is getting jobs. What am I doing? Did you get that pressure?
Yeah, I 100% did. Especially going to an undergraduate institution like Boston College.
Right.
Obviously, ever to excel is the tagline there.
Yes.
And a lot of people.
Well, Excel spreadsheets.
Exactly.
Right.
Ever to Microsoft Excel.
Ever to Microsoft. First of all, we should trademark that, because I think we just lifted the entire BC anthem. That was hilarious. Shout out to CSOM.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, so everyone's doing the thing, internships and
Yes.
offers when they're like 20 years old. I know someone who's 2 years younger than me, same age gap as you and me, who
Right.
has a job for graduation. They're going into
Right.
their senior year,
Right.
and they got offered a job going into their junior year for when
Right.
they were graduating.
Right.
So
I'm curious. This is a finance thing?
this is a finance thing,
Okay.
investment banking.
Of
you know,
course.
of course. What
Right.
else?
On. Just call it IB, brother.
Yeah.
We're all pros here.
Shout out Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss. Tyler Hansen too.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, I never really had that freedom. I never had an internship. I never, I didn't have an impressive resume. I was considering going to school again and using my 5th year of eligibility to try and give the old running thing one last
Yes.
crack.
Yes.
I was at, kind of just a crossroads where I'm someone who's very take life as it comes, but
Right.
it was coming at me fast and I didn't really have an answer to it. And I did feel a lot of pressure. So
Right.
I found something that I thought I would love, which was, working for the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm
Yes.
from Philadelphia.
Yes.
I'm a huge NBA fan. I haven't missed a single NBA playoff game. It's just riveting to me. And I thought
Right.
that this is it. This is a way to, be in the business industry, but do something that I love.
Right.
And jumped on that and just kind of fully committed all my eggs in that basket. Didn't
Right.
even consider looking outside of that kind of sphere and just thought that was, destiny.
Right.
I went all in on that. And, like I said, 9 days later, I start the job, and 3 months in, I'm already like, this is not at all what I
WTF.
expected.
Right.
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 And it's startling when you have such high expectations for something, and then all of a sudden it just kind of comes crashing down.
Yes.
And you feel trapped.
Right.
Because it's almost I found myself trying to convince myself that this is right for you. This is what you want to do. This is what you have to do. And I was hearing a lot of that coming from above me as well. And, my dad was saying that, like, he wants me to have, like, this great career in professional sports. And it's like, I have such a great opportunity, and, just trying to stick with it. But you can't shut out the voices, that are telling you to look outside forever. Right. And, that's kind of what ended up happening. And I'm very thankful that it did, but, a lot of that pressure, I still feel it, but it kind of forced me into that situation. And thankfully I was, kind of forced out. And now I have, I think, a much better perspective going forward in terms of what I can do and the potential that I have. Right.
Let me say, let me give you some credit here, because you said, I think a lot of people, using sports as an example, a lot of people want to go into a lot of people would love to work in the sports space, NBA, NFL, MLB. You hear a lot of people talk about that'd be awesome, it'd be awesome. Most people don't do that. Most people don't. I think they take a safer route. They hop on another set of train tracks that'll take them to a more maybe secure, maybe make more money, whatever it is.
Right.
But the fact that you jumped into that right away, you're like, oh, listen, I want to do this. I'm going to try it out. And yeah, it didn't work, but you played a hand that at least now, at the very least, now it's not in the back of your mind. Because listen, brother, I imagine if you took a safer route, if you went, to safer route X, you would still be thinking, shit, like, I should have gone all in on this because I wanted to do it. Boom. Now you did it. It took less than a year of your life to now check that box, and now you are, now you're on to the next thing. So I think give yourself some credit there, because I remember hearing about when you were joining the 76ers selling tickets. Like, I was like, dude, that is. I heard people say about, dude, have you seen Zingarini's Snapchat, dude? Like, this guy is like, it looks like it's a fucking party there. Like, and then there was that video of you on that was on
the IG.
Yeah, okay, on BIG. Oh,
Instagram,
the IG,
dude.
excuse me.
Come on,
the
dude.
IG.
I know you're off it. You're a Twitter guy.
No, first of all, I'm on IG. First of all, I'll be posting a photo of your mug on IG. That was on some news station or something.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking about that one where you're leaning.
Let
me just explain. This guy's leaned back
yeah.
in the background. Someone's getting interviewed. This guy's leaned back. Doesn't know he's being recorded. He's got the pen. He's got the pen in his ear, leaned back. And I imagine you were just closing deals. And I was like, holy shit, that looks awesome. And this was at a time when the 76ers, things were heating up.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were selling tickets. People were stoked. So was that, talk to me about that. Was that like the, was that when you were, by that point, were you, I don't know what point you, that was in your job, but that, was that like the peak, and then it kind of after that it kind of got repetitive, like you said, or
sure,
yeah.
So I mean, I started in what I always said to the people that I was working with is we got there a year late. I started in May of 2017, and for those basketball fans listening, about 2 weeks later, which at my job we had a 2-week training process. So right as soon as I was, starting to actually work for the company, Brian Colangelo, who's, kind of everywhere in the media these days, but big Twitter guy himself, apparently. So he made that trade for Markelle Fultz, who was widely regarded as the top tier talent in a already extremely deep, rookie class of 17. And we were in the top 5, I think, of full season tickets for the entire NBA. And then, boom, Philly just exploded when that trade went down. Phones were ringing off the hook. People were closing $20,000 deals on one call, $30,000 deals to people they have never otherwise spoken to. It was shooting fish in a barrel.
Right.
And I just had no pipeline to take advantage of it. So right off the bat, I get slapped in the face by experiencing almost no success, despite all the hype, just because I had the lame, 100 leads that they give you when you first start.
They didn't give you the Glengarry leads. They gave you that reference might be beyond your time, Brother Beast, but they gave you
that.
they gave you an email list from 2004. Here's some emails that we have. Go try to sell these people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay,
and on top of that, they hadn't trained us on inbound yet, so my inbound wasn't hooked up.
Your inbound game was honestly weak.
Yeah, it was very weak.
Right.
So it was all outbound, and it was all to the Gary Gergiches of the world. So
right.
Yeah, but basically, I learned to fail quick, and that kind of helped with the realization of what the heck am I doing? Because I've always been used to doing well, and then all of a sudden I wasn't doing well, and it was against my peers who I thought in the first place I might, be coming from a better, educational background and competitive background and stuff like that, and I was getting smoked by these people who went to,
not BCs.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't want to.
No, we don't need to. No, but I get. Yeah. I get what you're. No.
It was hard not to let that get to me.
Of
is
course.
Essentially what I was saying.
Of course, we're all human.
Paid for all that schooling, I was getting smoked by people who were going to state schools. Let's say.
You mean your liberal arts education didn't help you sell tickets, dude?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So, that kind of was a huge realization, and then for the rest of my time there, I was having the same conversation over and over and over again because they didn't have anything to move. The interest was there, but there was just nothing to move. Product. There was no product.
Right. Because everything had been sold?
Everything had been sold, and it was prepping people to say, if something happens, would you be interested? And at that point, one thing that helped me enjoy my job was that I thought I was genuinely trying to help people enjoy basketball the way I enjoyed basketball.
Absolutely.
But then it became to a point where I couldn't help them, and I had to push them into stuff that frankly just was not ideal. And then
to hit a quota or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Because they were on my backs about call numbers and revenue numbers and all that stuff, and I had to do my job at a high level even though it was pretty much impossible to do so.
Right.
So it was really frustrating, and just I felt like a really inorganic kind of view of a professional sphere, and I just frankly became bored. And it's crazy to think that when you see those videos and you see that work environment that I was in, that was like a glorified frat party in suits and ties every day.
Right.
It's crazy to think that you can get bored doing that, but when people above you don't see an issue in what you're doing and won't listen to your complaints when you say, hey, I just want a project, just give me a project, something that you can look at me and say, hey, good job. There was the only way to do that was you pray that someone has the cheddar to drop $14K on basketball tickets.
Right.
It was essentially kind of what you were waiting around for. And I just couldn't handle that kind of work environment anymore. I just needed to test my intellectual ability, X, Y, and Z, really get out of just the sphere of that kind of corporate culture. Is just, it was just a little bit too immature, I think, at times, even for a kid fresh out of college,
Right. Absolutely. Were there people that were, say, 30, 35 in this environment that were, or was this mostly people that were fresh out of college doing what you were doing?
I mean, in my role, there were a couple people who were high 20s, who had maybe tried out other, career paths and decided that they wanted to chase the dream of professional sports. But by and large, the people that were doing what I was doing were all 1-2 years out of school.
Right. Has this hurt the way that you view the NBA and just sports in general?
You know what's crazy is it hasn't really hurt my view of the NBA, but what it did do is they tell you to never work for a team that you love.
Right.
And
Never
it's
meet
so
your heroes, brother.
It's
Never meet
so
your heroes. Right.
true. Like it
Right.
had, and I thought it had something to do with like letting your fandom get too involved in like your job process. But what it is like I came to just really not enjoy, the Sixers business side of things, and it has nothing to do with the people that are there. Like I still think very highly of the people that are there.
Of course.
But it just had everything to do with kind of, I think the culture got too big for even those that were controlling it, quote unquote. And like now I leave that place with that taste in my mouth. And now when I look at the Sixers, the first thing I think of is like my business experience there and not the basketball team,
Right.
So in a way, it does damage your fandom in that when you kind of get a look behind the scenes and see who's behind it, it changes your opinion of the initial impression when you go and you look and I see a 76ers logo now. The first thing I think of is like my job, not like Joel Embiid.
You're triggered by it, right?
You could say that,
right? Damn, right on. Well, yeah, something that you touched on was I've talked to a lot of people on No Grade, like Justin Dunn, Mackenzie Angel, OB, just some other people that are at a similar stage in our life where they're out of school. Or they didn't finish school and they're kind of doing their thing and they're trying to figure it out. And one of the things that you guys, my guess in this space or in this part of their life keep coming back to is, I'm doing thing X. It's not what I want to be. It's not what I want to be doing. Or I'm trying this thing. I'm trying this. I'm trying to find the thing that's going to make me happy. And I always think, and we often riff on this is I think focusing too much. I mean, it's like the Sixers, brother. Trust the process. I was talking to James Newhouse, who said he's going through something similar. Where he's like, trying to figure his shit out. Producer on No Gradient. God bless James Newhouse. But he said something. Don't trust in the process, but like enjoy the process, because I think it's very easy to get caught up in, okay, I'm trying to get to this end goal, whether it's a job, whether it's a partner, whether it's whatever it is you're trying to find, but you forget that most of the stuff is happening between A and B, not when you get to B. So like enjoying the, for example, training for a race. Let's say you want to, go sub 4 in the mile. Like the sub 4 is obviously a big fucking deal to do that, but to enjoy the training leading up to that. So I liken it to, what you're saying is what you did on the Sixers. It ended up not working out. You're doing something else now, but that process, just being in that process of just, okay, here I am, I'm playing a hand, I'm trying something, I'm taking a risk, like that is something that I think we all can do better to enjoy. Don't just enjoy the end goal, but enjoy figuring out what the end goal is, because ultimately that's where you're living. That's where you're living. You don't live at the moment that you hit the thing you want is a split second. Your life is actually everything before that and everything after that.
Right.
Yeah, that's something that I think us young 20-year-olds, I mean, I don't think that feeling will ever go away, but yeah.
There's some like corny saying or something that's like, life is what happens when you're busy making plans.
Right.
Right. And that's kind of what I like in that too, is
right.
The whole time that I was there, I was hyper aware of that I didn't like it there.
Right.
Like, and I was kind of hyper aware of that this is what I should want to do, but I don't like doing it.
Right.
And it was a strange realization, but I think what that perspective allowed me to do was take a step back. It was like kind of like an out of body experience. Like I was just like doing the work, but like analyzing everything that was going on around me and like trying to find that point B, that point where I'm like, yes, this is it. This is why I'm on Earth,
Right.
And because I did that year with the Sixers, like I have that perspective. I know what that point B is. I firmly believe I do, but I just know I have a lot of time.
You already have life figured out. What are you? You're 23 years old. You already know what your point B is, brother. Damn, you got 70-year-olds beat, brother.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm ahead of the game, if you want to say.
Right. James Zingarini ahead of the game.
Yeah, no, not really. But
right.
It's I saw it is more like I didn't figure it out, but I saw it. I saw where I could be happy,
Right.
And it was in a similar career, but I knew that like growing and maturing outside of that sphere had to take place before I could even pursue what it was that I wanted to do. Like, I know that I wasn't growing, I wasn't maturing, I was a glorified college kid, like I said, and doing this work that, frankly, anyone could do. And I wanted to get away from that for a little bit and like really think on how that experience went and what that means for, you know, what it means when you have a dream job, quote unquote, and you're going to work, and when you tell people, people's faces used to light up when I was like, I work for the Sixers. They were like, what?
Yes.
And I was like, and it was such a surreal experience because I didn't like my job, and I was like, yeah, I work for the Sixers. And people were like, that's crazy. Like, they'd start going off, and I'd be like, yeah, it's cool. Like, and I'd be like, oh, I love it, but like, I mean, I didn't, you know?
Right.
So, like, I'm forever thankful for that experience in having kind of your dreams get crushed in a way, you know? And and it causes you to grow up quick. And I feel like I didn't do a lot of that in college. And I feel like now I've matured to the point where I can look forward to, you know, other things in my life because I saw how good it can be on the other side, and but it was so far away while I was there, you know? And I know now that getting knocked down a peg, like, I know I will strive for, you know, I needed that in order to get to where I want to go. Like, I needed to have that wake up call.
So when you say you know what it can be, like, you know kind of what the point B is, are you saying that because this has been ruled out, you know that how's this? You know what the plan B isn't now, right? But did it help you? How much has it guided you to know what the plan B actually is?
Right. I mean, it helped a lot. Like, when you have everything figured out, essentially. Like, I thought I was going to be working for a professional basketball team for the next 5 years, you know, which would have been awesome. But, you know, when you see what that actually can be like, it causes you to take that step back, like that I was just referring to. And, you know, it kind of obfuscates that plan B. But when you see how good it can become if you, like, work extremely hard. But for me, it wasn't just that. It was, I knew that I needed to take a step outside of that sphere and grow in an area where I'm not super comfortable. Like, my next job, like, I don't know anything about it. And that's what excites me about it. It's not something that I grew up in front of my face with every day.
Interesting.
And I needed to challenge myself to prove that I can be successful at something that's very difficult to do. Frankly, my last job just wasn't really difficult, and I wanted a challenge. And that kind of growth and maturity to me is more valuable than an outside impression of what someone thinks my job is like. Like, for me, the experience for me as a human being is more important to me than having someone look at my life and say, dang, I wish I worked for the Sixers, you know?
Because ultimately you're the one living in your own skin. So who gives a shit what anyone else thinks it's like to live in your skin? I'm curious. Social media aspect, obviously a big deal in 2018. Did you feel pressure to paint a more positive light on what you were doing? I don't know how much you posted shit about the Sixers on social media, for example, but was there a pressure there?
Well, it was just like, it was strange. I got so much outreach of everyone like, your job looks so sick, like all this stuff. It was like, well, that's just because there weren't any rules there. Like at like 2:00 during the workday, somebody would go and scream, hey, we're having an eating contest, because they would like cater hot dogs, let's say. And like some kid literally just got up on the sales floor and screamed, we're going to have an eating contest downstairs. You two, like, whoever can eat the most hot dogs in 2 minutes wins. And like, we all just went down and did it. And like, our bosses weren't there. Like, it was just like such a surreal work environment. And as fun as that sounds, like, it wasn't rewarding. Like, it wasn't like what I wanted out of a professional career, you know? Like, yeah, it's all well and good to work for like a zoo of college kids, essentially, like slinging basketball tickets. But like, at the end of the day, like, I just wanted to feel accomplished, and I wasn't really
Right.
getting that there,
Right.
I just felt like I was going through the motions, and that wasn't good enough for me. And it's there are more important things out there than like just saying and believing like, hey, like this is the right path, this is the right path, this is the right path. Sometimes you have to carve your own and get out of what you think is the right path and what people are
Right.
telling you is the right path, which for me was like sports. My whole life has been sports, but like
Yes.
it's always going to be there for me, and like I don't think I would have reached my potential in terms of where I want to be professionally if I didn't take a step and try something new and get out of it for a little bit.
Right. Dude, it's crazy to hear you talk like this, because when you say you've grown a lot in the past year, like not that you weren't. I mean, everyone. First of all, I always look back at like when I was in college. I look back in high school. I'm like, damn, I was a total idiot. And after college, you look back at college. I was a total idiot. I imagine I'll look at my mid 20s, think the same thing. And so you saying like you talking this way, is like, damn, like when you say you've grown a lot, it's like holy shit, like you have. I think you have, like it's only been a year, but it feels like a hell of a lot more than that in the way you're speaking about your experience and stuff like that. So which is awesome. I think it's good, like you said, put yourself in it, and it's gonna change you. So that's fucking epic. I'm curious what you think about. This is something I think about a lot. I look at mostly professional musicians, typically rappers. Well, I guess, are they musicians? Who knows? That's another podcast. I don't want to get into that.
Not my forte.
Yeah, exactly. But you look at their lifestyle, like for example, Drake. For example, you just look at, and you mentioned being in the party environment in the 76ers. Now, I'm not saying the party environment of the ticket sales of the Sixers is the same thing as Drake's lifestyle, but I look at like. The image that really famous, really successful kind of pop culture items that they project, like partying all the time, doing whatever they want, traveling, doing this, doing that. Like, part of me is like, holy shit, that looks fucking epic. Like they can do whatever they want. They control their destiny.
Right.
Everyone wants to be them. Everyone's worshiping them. But another part of me is like, and I don't know if I'm just a jelly donut or. Or I actually believe this. Part of me is like, damn, I wonder, like, that looks really, just that type of lifestyle, that shit would get me pretty depressed pretty quickly. Always needing to look like you're in control, always having a good time. So I'm curious.
Right.
Curious what you think about that.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Kind of. I
Right.
think it's like exhausting. Like
Right.
you can't, like today. I had a great. Like
Yes.
brunch with my boys, just like
Right.
sat outside and chilled and ate. And if you're Drake, if you're Rihanna, if you're Taylor Swift, if you're whoever, you can't do that.
Right.
And it's exhausting.
Or if you do that, you need to dress up. You need to, an hour of makeup. You need to make sure everything's dialed in, and then you go outside. Yeah.
Or build a fort around your table so no one can see that you're
Right.
actually there. Like bring 80 people with you wherever you go, so there's always a wall of 80 people between you and the ravenous general public that's
Right.
like coming at you for
Or
no reason.
shut down a hospital when you give birth. Hashtag Beyonce, who's I know a friend of the No Gradient podcast.
There you go. Shout out B. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know, like just when you have this pressure to always look like you're having fun,
Right.
are you actually? Like I know for
Right.
a fact that it made me feel some type of way when people said your job looks so fun when I
Right.
was so bored. Like
Right.
I hated coming to work. Like
Right.
it was just like, sure, there was like a mini basketball hoop and I like used to shoot hoops while I was like working, quote unquote.
Hold on, I got the job posting for when you signed. It was okay. 401k matching, flexible hours, mini basketball hoop.
Yeah,
These were the
please.
Yes, that
no
was,
matter where I go, I might
Right.
have to bring one to my next job.
Right on.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's a surreal feeling when someone tries to, when someone makes those claims and says, dude, you must be loving your job. You work for a
Yes.
basketball team. Your Snapchats are crazy. Like, that's
Yes.
so wild. And I'm like, it's not like a coping mechanism for me. I'm literally just recording the stuff in front of my face. But
Right,
like
right.
at the end of the day, when they would say that stuff to me, I was like, yeah, it's all right. Like, I mean, the work itself was like it was so exhausting, like just draining, because like it was just so unfulfilling, you know? And like when someone says, you must be having a blast, like it's so sick, like you work for the team, you get to go to every basketball game, you get to be around all these NBA players, and I'm like, yeah, that stuff's awesome. Like, I'm not denying that, but like there's something more than just cool stuff like that, you know? And for me, that has to come internally. That has to come from like some kind of, you know, reward that, hey, I worked really hard at this and this is what happened. Like at my job, there was no such thing as that. Like there was no such thing as like you work really hard and you know, you end up succeeding. And that was so frustrating to me. You didn't really get in what you put, like you didn't really get out what you put in. Like at the end of the day, it was who had the cheddar to drop $14K on basketball tickets. And if you didn't have any of those people, like you weren't going to find them, you know? So, I mean, it was just really frustrating in that regard. And you know, for me, when people would tell me like how much fun I was supposed to be having based on, you know, outward appearances, it didn't really make up for that kind of lack of fulfillment that I was feeling, that I sought after a job, that everyone should seek after in a job, I think.
Right. I think, you touched on, I think expectations are the single biggest thing that ruin experience for all of humanity. I think like
so true.
It's expecting that something is, you know, going into anything with an expectation that, oh, this is going to be X, it's going to be epic, it's going to be great. It doesn't, number one, even if it is really good, I'm not saying, you know, you go into that, it's automatically not going to be good if you think that, but even if it is good, you're not letting it happen. You're not just enjoying it as it comes. You're already framing it before it happens, so you're not able to enjoy it as much because you have these preconceived notions on what it is, let alone if it's, let's say you go into something 1 to 10 on the chill scale, you go in expecting something to be 10 on the chill scale. And then it's only an 8. 8 is really good, but you thought it was a 10, so now it's going to feel like a 4.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I don't know if you have this experience going out, for example, when you expect, oh, this night's going to be kind of low key, it's not going to be that great, whatever. Like when you have zero expectations, that is the time when I have had the most fun and the most epic shit has happened. Because I did not expect anything to happen.
All of my best nights in college were from like just hanging out in my dorm room with my friends, and then all of a sudden it gets wild. And then you go out and you have just like a crazy night.
Right.
You know, and like I felt like my job was like literally just waiting around for that 10, you know?
Right.
And I could never find it.
Right.
And it was because of those expectations that I set out, and that everyone else expects too. Everyone else expects your job to be a 10 when you work for a professional basketball team, you know?
Right.
And hearing that every day from everybody who wasn't living it on a day-to-day basis, like the other people that I were working with were the only ones who got it. No one else got it, you know? No one else was like, I couldn't really complain to anyone. I was like, this is, and you know what's crazy is like, when I was still worked there, I would tell people, I'd be like, I have to do this. And they would be like, no, you don't.
Right.
And I was like, no, this is like what's best for, you know, what I want to do. I want to be the CEO of a sports team. Like, and this is the only way to do it. And they're like, you are not being challenged. Like you have so much more potential than what this job is giving you right now. And I just refused to see that while I was there. I mean, like I want to read this text message that I sent you while I was like fully like mainlining the how great it is to work in professional sports.
Right. Now when you say mainlining, was this when you were in it at the peak, or was this when you were kind of marketing it as a great thing?
Like,
did you act? Was
I believing what I was saying?
Exactly. Who knows?
You know,
you don't even know if you don't even know.
I think it was all an act, to be honest. I mean, it's just like hindsight's 20/20, but like, you know, I can never hide the fact that I did not enjoy what I was doing, but I wanted to so badly.
Right.
You know, and that was just an incredibly frustrating way to go about my day. And you know, you heard. This is about like a quarter of the way through the NBA season. You reach out to me because you hear that the Sixers are selling out every game.
Yes.
Say something's happening in Philly. Tell me why. And I said, at the end of the day, Philly is a basketball town just waiting for a basketball team. And looking at this squad, they're ready to take over the NBA on and off the court.
Yes.
There's nothing not to love about them. And I said, you could call it drinking the Kool-Aid. And
so you did.
I think I was 100%
Right.
chugging the Kool-Aid at
Right.
that point in time.
Though to your credit, you did say call it drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Right.
So I called myself out on my bullshit,
Right.
I think.
Right.
But, I mean, damn, it's like, it's pretty crazy how I could have thoughts like that but still hate my job. Because
Right.
you had to maintain the expectation that working for a professional sports team was going to be the greatest thing ever.
Right.
When at the end of the day, it's like glorified waiting.
Right.
I used to say I was like a sports waiter.
I love that. A
Like,
sports waiter.
I was literally like a sports, like, can I take your order? Like, what tickets do you want? Like, that's all I was doing. I was fulfilling orders.
Right.
And I wanted something so much more. I truly believe that you can utilize sports to impact and change the world. I went to Vietnam, and
Yes.
I could not speak a lick of Vietnamese, but
But you
I
could.
was there.
You could drink their beer and get hammered.
I did do that.
Nice. Nice.
Shout out to Ba Ba Ba, which is
Ba
their
Ba Ba.
their Bud Light there.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So, anyway, I saw how happy these kids were, like, playing these sports, and I was able to communicate that with them in that regard.
Right.
So it's like like math is the universal language, but
Right.
like I feel like sports are right there.
Competition.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And like everyone sees, and I saw so much potential in being able, like what I said at the beginning of the show is like, I love and cherish sports, and I wanted to share that with others, and I thought I was going to get the opportunity to do that. But at the end of the day, that's not at all what I was doing, and I was so far
Right.
from all I was doing was benefiting the business. I wasn't actually helping people the way I wanted to help people.
Right.
And me, as someone who believes that sports can literally impact anybody and change the world
Yes.
for the better,
Yes.
honestly, to be so frustrated in that role and not see any avenue to get to that point, like I'm talking like 5, 10, 15 years down the road in that ticket sales path that I was in,
Right.
I just had to, deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And that's what really got to me. And that's, was kind of the cutting point when I was like, I'm not in this job for what I thought I was in it for from the beginning.
Right.
And at that point, I just had to be like, it's time to seek other
Right. avenues
of passion. There are
Right.
other things that make people tick. And I'm only 23, and I think
Yes.
I'm going to find some other ones. And I think that I'm forever grateful for this experience and the people that I learned from and the friends that I made. And I had like the best year of my life.
Right.
I just hated my job.
I love that. Right. Right.
So, I mean, I'm super happy with where I'm at now.
Right.
And to have that this past year as an experience, I think is invaluable.
Right.
And like, I just know that I'm going to be, like, I have this hunch that I'm going to be very successful one day, but like, I just don't know how I'm going to
What do you mean by
there.
successful?
I don't know. Like, I just see myself as being financially well off, not like
Yes.
super rich billionaire, but like just like happy,
So you don't have to worry about money.
Yeah, just don't
Right.
like I just see myself as one day getting to that point.
Right.
And I think I'm going to love my job eventually, but like I knew that I needed to get more creative.
Right.
After that 1 year at the Sixers, I was like, I need to step out of my comfort zone. I need to try something new. I need to not fall into this trap.
Right. So it reminds me of damn. Every time you say something, I'm like, fuck. I got to write another thing down because it just reminds me of something. You're just hitting all the right chords right now. I think when you say you'll eventually find a job that you like, or that that really gives you satisfaction. I'm gonna push back a little bit there because I think of myself. Like, for example, there's a lot of things I've done in my life that you've done in your life, that we've all done in our life, that we're no longer doing, but it doesn't mean that at that current moment in our life, it wasn't the right thing to do. So maybe for example, like I used to do some acting stuff when I was younger, like I don't know, like theater stuff, and I'm not doing that now. I'm not doing anything like that now.
Why not, dude? You'd be good at it.
No, yeah, yeah. That's a podcast for another day. But my point is like, just because you're not doing it now doesn't mean that in your, let's say in your 20s or in your, in your 30s or in your 40s, in every stage of your life doesn't mean that it wasn't the right thing to do at that current moment.
Right.
So right now I'm doing a podcast. Like maybe I'm not doing a podcast in 3 years, but it was the right thing to do because I wanted to do it at that moment. It doesn't mean it was a waste of time. It doesn't mean that the Sixers stuff, and I don't think you view it as a waste of time. But in terms of trying to find that one job that's going to give you that satisfaction. If I'm 7 years old and I look back at my life and I've had a job for 5 years, I've had another job for 5 years, had another job for 5 years, and I'd never found something that I did for like 20, 30 years, I would be okay with that so long as in those 5 year spurts, I was happy with what I was doing, and then I kind of poked my head up. I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Time to do something else, and then something else. So I think I'm lately a really big fan of doing what I want to do at this point in my life, not thinking about, okay, is this something I want to do when I'm 50, but really like, listen, I want to fucking do this now. So I'm just going to get it. I'm just going to do it now. And then, we'll see where that leads. But,
isn't that funny? Like the notion, I feel like the notion of the career is dying.
Absolutely.
Like, I just feel like you don't see anybody who is like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I feel like our parents are like kind of the last generation that has this like career stuff. I really think the notion of the career is dying.
Yes.
So, I mean, I agree with your pushback. I mean, do I see myself ever having a job long term that I like? Yeah, I do. But like, I think it's going to take a lot of what you just referred to get there. And I think that's just like the fact of the matter this day and age. It's easier to find a job than ever. It's easier to communicate than ever. There's things popping up every second of every day that gives anybody another opportunity to work, like apps and all that stuff, all this tech and everything is just exploding. And
I think we're living in a golden age right now.
Yeah,
I really
it's crazy.
do. Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
So it's scary when you think to say like, hey, maybe the notion of the career is dying, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't scare you. It's those experiences like I had over the last year where you work in professional sports and you think it's a dream job and you think you want to stay there forever. And I think a lot of people do want it. Like they're like, I'm never leaving, you know, and they have this like rigid, like, this is it. And they can't see beyond the walls, and I think that it's dangerous to have that mentality in this day and age when there's so much opportunity elsewhere,
Absolutely.
And like, that was like a huge thing for me, was like, this should be a dream job. Why isn't it? And, I think it's just part because I couldn't get down with the path that they were like, literally on onboarding, they were like, yes, you're a sales associate, and then from here you can be a group seller or this and this, and then you'll be an inside sales manager, and then you'll be the vice president of a ticket sales.
And then you'll blow your brains out at age 50.
Yeah, and then you're 30 years old and you're making X amount of money.
Yes.
Literally dealing with emails of people like, can I print out my tickets? Like, I just don't.
Right.
I didn't see that as a dream career,
Right.
And so many other people did, and I just couldn't get why. And like, I get it, it's cool, but like, don't fall into the trap where people say like, you have a job, it's supposed to be cool. It is cool, right?
Right.
So do it. Like, just stay here and do it. And like, at the end of the day, like, we were so expendable as sales associates. It was like crazy. Like, literally, I left, they brought in 30 more new sales associates. I just texted one of my managers and said, hey, can I put you down as a reference for my new job? And he goes, please do. And I said, how are the new hires? He goes, fresh blood. Like, that's just like the mentality there. It's like people who are so wide-eyed and like ready to just put their head down and like drink the Kool-Aid and just go.
Right.
And like, that's how they view it. They're like, we don't care if you didn't like your time here. Like, peace. Like, you're a good kid. I was well liked at my job, but they're like, dude, leave. Like, I want this like kid that's batshit crazy from UConn to just like pick up the phone 200 times a day and try and sell like one full season ticket,
Right.
So, I mean, like, that I didn't see a career in that, and I
Yes.
think that you got to keep your mind open
Yes.
because the notion of the career is quickly evaporating.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as we close out here, I do want to say a couple things. So, I think the biggest. So this is something that's I've read this in a couple places. I've seen it around, but I really like this quote. The biggest enemy of a good plan is a perfect plan. So, when you replace plan with job or experience or whatever, I think we're so often looking for a perfect thing that it's like, which is good. We should strive for the best, but always constantly looking for 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 perfection will drive you absolutely insane, because
Of course.
it doesn't exist. Everything, life is a big part of life is suffering. No matter what you're doing, I don't care if you're in the best situation possible, you will have things you're not happy about. You will have things you need to overcome. So I think trying to look for absolute perfection will drive you.
You mind if I comment on that?
Yeah, hit me.
You know, the thing is that's crazy is it's so tangible in professional sports, perfection. You know, the undefeated season, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And sports business, they try and strive for that as well.
Yes.
But it almost seems as they forget that people are imperfect and like it's okay to make mistakes. Like there was so much pressure from above, top down on all these goals that we had that would make us a perfect industry or a perfect company within the perfect industry. Let's say the shining example, the city on top of the hill.
Right.
And I just was like, it makes no sense to chase this perfection when it's so elusive, especially in a hyper competitive industry like sports. Like there's always going to be someone who's one step ahead of you.
Right.
You know, like, and I just didn't see it as healthy. I just didn't see it as something that I wanted to be a part of. Like I didn't care if we were the shining example of ticket sales because like, dude, it's tickets. Like if people want to come to a game, they'll come to a game, you know, like it's crazy. So, I mean, like it's so tangible in professional sports. Like it's, you know, the undefeated season, the sellout streak, the 200 sellouts in a row, like all that stuff is right at your fingertips.
Yes.
But I just don't think like it's impossible to stay at the top forever.
Right.
And like there were so many people there that were trying to be perfect, that were trying to stay at the top forever. And it just didn't resonate with me. Like I'm all in on striving to be the best you can be, but like don't make it unhealthy. Right.
Absolutely. I want to. I think you've been. You're brutally honest with yourself, and I think that's a good lesson early on. That you are. Listen, you did something for 9 months. You're like, okay, I'm gone. I'm on to the next thing, and you were able to do that because you were honest with yourself and what you wanted. It reminds me of James Newhouse, producer of No Gradient. Brother. My God. Something I love about James Newhouse is when you would ask him how his day is or how your day was, come back from work. This when we were at 4.5 Center Street, Roxbury, Massachusetts. Phenomenal. Respect. I would ask, dude, how was the day? And he was working a lot of hours, and I would say, dude, how was the day? And he would say, sometimes he would say, good day. And then he would list a couple of reasons, and sometimes he would say, bad day. Like, here's the reasons why. And it was he was always honest about it. So you could, so many people would just say, oh, it was a good day. I did it. It was, everyone say good day. But I always loved it about him that he would say, no, if it wasn't a good day, he wasn't gonna fucking lie about it. He was gonna be honest about it and say, listen, it wasn't a good day. Here's what I'm kind of struggling with. Here's this kind of thing that happened. And it just makes it so much more, there's something beautiful in that. I think the honesty there allows me to be more honest. And I think it's that honesty is absolutely key.
Must be a James thing.
It must be a James thing. I love James's. Brother Beast, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know you guys are hitting the driving range. We got the golf outing tomorrow, but dude,
I'm so bad.
Yeah. Well, that's
it's too little, too late. But I'm
too little, too late.
I'm trying.
But dude, I really appreciate you coming on and opening up and being honest about these things, because I think it's a lot of people are thinking the same thing. And when other people have the courage to get out here and say, yo, this is the thing I'm struggling with. Other people are like, so other people are feeling this shit, and it just really opens up the game.
Yeah, so. I hope I help someone out there, who's kind of going through the same stuff. Maybe realizes some of the BS in their job and kind of takes a risk, and that is kind of the goal. But this was extremely, it was good. It was good to get stuff out. I haven't really talked this openly and honestly
Yes.
about my experience with anyone, and
Yes.
so I really appreciate you having me on and letting me do this. It was a lot of fun, and I hope people out there enjoy it because I had fun making it.
Right.
Time flew.
Right. I will say one thing when you say, "Oh, I haven't really had a conversation like this." This podcast, if anything, it's given me an excuse to sit down with people and have a full-on conversation, focused conversation. You realize you don't, friends you've had for years, you realize, when's the last time I sat down and we kind of riffed on what do we want to do for the next, how am I doing in my current situation? Maybe you'll talk for a couple minutes, how's work going? Oh, it's going. But how often do we just have a sit down and just, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So it's just an excuse to do that. And I do need to shout out, this is the first time we're recording. I don't know if I'll end up publishing this on YouTube, but shout out to Emmett Scullivan. He listens. He's a friend of the podcast. He hit me up. He's like, dude, you got to post videos on YouTube. And so we might be publishing this on YouTube. I don't know. It's pretty dark now. We'll see how that goes. But also, people out there, if you listen to this, if you got questions for James, or if you just want to say what's up, I will shout your ass out. I will shout you out. I'm getting like 50, 60 downloads on average. I don't know who you are. I got some friends that reach out and say, yo, good episode, but it's not that many people. If you listen to this shit, reach out. I want to hear from you. It makes my fucking day. Dick@nogradient.com. Dick C. Lucas on Twitter. Comment on the nogradient.com blog, whatever. Just let me know you listen to it. Send me a text. I love hearing from you. Give me feedback. Matt Buckley, shout out to you. I hope the audio was good. Zingarini did a good job with the mic, so I hope you can hear it in your privilege pods. I call them AirPods. Dude, Zingarini. Dude, thanks for coming on.
Dick, can't thank you enough, man. It was my pleasure.
Love it, brother.
All right.
That was chill. That was Che. Okay, right on, Brother Beast.